I've been using Dropbox since 2008. Yeah, that's a really long time. But that changed almost a year ago. I've ditched Dropbox, sort of. So back in March of last year, I was editing a video in Final Cut Pro, and the files were in Dropbox. Now, I know that this was probably never a good idea, but it definitely doesn't work any longer, or at least it didn't then, and I haven't really tested it since. But that's okay. I've changed my workflow a little bit, and that was that. But let's talk about the issue that led me to ultimately drastically reduce my Dropbox usage. The problem reared its ugly head when I tried to open a Final Cut Pro library. I would get this error that you see now. So after some Googling around, I came across this discussion in the Apple support community. Long story short, with one of Apple's macOS releases, probably Ventura if memory serves, any cloud-based folders like Google Drive or Dropbox got moved to a new folder in the user library called Cloud Storage. And that completely changed things. I'm not going to get into the details because, frankly, I'm just not that knowledgeable when it comes to the inner workings of macOS, and frankly, it's done, and there's just no point in getting all irritated or upset about it. But the solution for this particular issue was actually pretty simple. I just had to move my Final Cut Pro file somewhere else that wasn't a cloud storage folder. Done. Problem solved. But then that made me wonder, were all my files that I had in Dropbox getting backed up to Backblaze anymore? And if not, should I ditch Dropbox altogether? Well, it turns out that Dropbox files and folders do still get backed up by Backblaze, thankfully. But I was experiencing enough friction with Dropbox in general that I looked into ditching it altogether. My main pain points revolved around syncing and speed issues. And when I took a hard look at my workday and workflows, I realized I just wasn't sharing files that often, let alone full project folders like I had before. So after weighing the pros and cons, I decided to move everything off Dropbox, and I really haven't looked back since. I've been able to reorganize my files and folders in a way that works for me. But that's a video for another day. The only real downside is that if I'm on the go and I don't have my laptop, I can't access any files on my phone or iPad or whatever. But truth be told, that rarely ever happens. And if I know if I'm going to need a document, I'll either put a copy into a specific folder in Dropbox or use iCloud files. Then when I'm done, I delete the copied file. But in case you're curious, here's my Dropbox setup. You can see there are two folders and a file. The file I actually need to file away. And there's actually technically a third folder in my Dropbox account called Archive that, as you can imagine, houses a bunch of other stuff that I need to, that I'm saving for posterity or I just need to get rid of. But this first folder called Project Related contains basically different kinds of files that are needed for different kinds of projects. So the first folder, B81 File Requests, is a folder that I set up through the Dropbox interface to where it allows you to basically create a page where people that you send the link to can upload directly to your Dropbox and it lands in this folder. Now you can have more than one file request folder, and I used to do that, but it's just easier to do one. And so, and I send the link over to clients when I need them to send certain files to me, whether it's logos or copy or whatever. Then the in folder is where I keep other Dropbox folders that have been shared with me. So for instance, if a client has a Dropbox account and they know that they need to send me a bunch of assets, sometimes they'll just put it all in their own folder and then invite me to that folder. So because I'm very particular about how I organize my files, I just move that folder into in and it doesn't break any links on their end. So that's what that is for. For signing, I used to use, this is where I would upload any contracts that needed signing, and then I would send them to via Dropbox Sign, which used to be Hello Sign, but I've since moved away from Dropbox Sign and now I use DocuSign, so I don't need that folder anymore. Onboarding is one that I don't need anymore that's still sitting there that I need to delete. And the out folder is where I put files that I need on the go or that I want to create a link for and send to someone without needing to add it as an attachment in an email, like if the file is too big or something like that. And then the resources folder, well, I actually have two resources folder. One lives on my Mac and one lives here on Dropbox. And the one on my Mac is for the most common resources that I use during my day-to-day work. The one here on Dropbox is basically kind of like a secondary storage for different kinds of assets that I need occasionally. I don't need them that often. So for instance, I might need, some certain stock images or anything like that. So that gets kept here. Basically all of those graphic design assets that you might pull when you're creating something new. But really that's the gist of it when it comes to my Dropbox setup. Okay, so that does it for this video. If you're curious why you might want to ditch Dropbox entirely or partially like me, there are a couple of links in the description below. So until next time, have a good one.